Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I am going to be working with the Nepenthes cutting. I had a friend who was nice enough to give me a nice length here of Nepenthes, which is a tropical carnivorous plant. This one is a Hamata cross ventricosa, so it's a nice little cross there, and I'm going to make some cuttings out of it. So we're going to need a few things. One, of course, is a sterilized razor blade to make some cuts. Two is some media for afterwards, so I'm going to be putting it in sphagnum and perlite or core mix, and of course a pot for them. And there's just a few things we have to do before we get started on actually cutting these guys up. We have to decide what cuttings we want to make and how big they're going to be, how many. So this is about an 18-inch vine, you can see from tip to bottom. And I've already sort of had a look over it and sort of realized I'm probably going to get 3 cuttings out of this. So I wanted to try a couple different methods to see what gives the best results. So the first thing I'm going to do to make this easier is after the cutting has been made, and this one's a couple hours old, so I'm going to have to recut the tip here, is we want to cut the leaves in half. Just like this. And this is because there is no roots on the plant anymore. Leaves are good for photosynthesis, but they're also good for transpiring or losing moisture out. So if we have too many leaves on them, we're going to lose too much moisture, and it's potentially going to slow down or hurt the plant. So we're going to do that with it. You can also see I'm working on a white tray here, and the tray actually has water in it. We're going to be making all our cuts underwater. Even though we are going to be working with media, and for the most part the plant isn't going to be underwater, we make all the cuts underwater. That way the incision still will allow water to wake up it. Now we want to use the sharpest, cleanest razor blade possible to do this. And I am going to start by cutting the actual tip here again. Because this is a couple hours old, I'm just going to cut this like this. Right down there, and make that cut underwater. So the first one I'm going to do is going to be what's called a 2-node cutting. So these are nodes here. This is where a growth point would appear. A growth point can appear anywhere where a node is or where a leaf comes out. Roots, on the other hand, appear from in the tip here. So what I want to do is make a 2-node cutting first. The reason I decided on a 2-node cutting is right in the middle here, there's some sort of damage on the stem. It looks like in the past maybe it's been damaged, so I'm going to remove that just in case. You want to do a minimum of a 2-node cutting. Hopefully you guys can see there. And I'm just going to take my razor blade and give it a cut underwater. Now, make sure if you are using a razor blade, if you can't drink a beer, you can't use a razor blade without your parents' permission. So make sure you ask your parents if you can use one, or get them to do it first if they say no. So there's our first cutting there. Now I'm going to remove this funny spot here because I just don't like that. So we're going to remove that. Let's see here if I can get it so you can see. Nepenthes stems are actually quite tough. They're tougher than you would think. The next one I'm actually going to make a 3-node cutting. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to cut it right here. And I'll give it a cut. Just like so. There we go. So now we have our 3 cuttings. We want to always make sure that one of these nodes is buried under the soil, because if something was to happen and the plant was to break off, if you don't have a node below the soil or below the surface, the plant is done. Even if there's roots down here, remember a new growth can only appear from here. So what we're going to do is hopefully a growth will come out here. This will be buried under to about here. This is just sort of a backup node. Maybe in a few years it would produce a basal rosette anyways. But if something happened to the plant and say this node wasn't here and you tried a 1-node cutting like this, if this ever broke off here, you would have nothing below it to continue the plant growth. So I was going to do a few things with these guys. I think what I'm going to do is on this middle one here, I'm actually going to do a water cutting. We'll see how that works. And with the other two, I'm going to do a media cutting. So I'm just going to make that leaf a little bit smaller. The other thing I'm going to do is make an incision up the stem a little bit. As I say, the roots appear out of here. So the more surface area we can get, the better, the more roots we're going to have. And I'm just going to make a cutting here. Just like so. And I have got a few toothpicks around. I've actually already cut the ends off a few toothpicks. And what we're going to do is just open that up a little bit. Just like so. And what we have just done there is created a lot more surface area for roots to form. So we're going to do that. This is an experiment that I'm going to try. I'm going to try it with 2 out of the 3. So this cutting here, I am going to simply put in a jar of, or a glass of water like this. It's going to go out in the greenhouse. If you're doing these in the house, make sure you put a bag over them. You want it to be as humid as possible, just a clear bag that's sealed. And that is going to be a water method Nepenthe cutting. Now we're left with 2 here. So this tip here is going to be very easy to grow, I believe. What we're going to do is just cut this off just the same. So this one is a 1, 2, 3 node cutting again. I'm going to cut the leaf pretty much off the bottom there. And we'll do the same little cut. Hopefully you can see there. There we go. I'm going to do the same cut for this 2 node. Get rid of the leaf. You can notice I'm using scissors for the leaves and then a sharp razor blade for the actual stem here. There we go. And somewhere around here, I'm just looking for my toothpick bits. I found 1 more. I thought I made 3. But anyways, there's another toothpick bit. We're going to shove that through there gently, just so it opens it up a bit. And let me find the last one. Where did it go? It seems to be gone. I'm just going to run to the other side of the kitchen and grab another toothpick. We're working in the kitchen today because A, it's after dark, and B, it was a stormy day out there. I didn't want to do much in the greenhouse at all today. So there we go. I'm back with another one. And just gently put it through there and split them apart a bit. So that is it for making the cuttings. Now what we have to do is the one that's in the water method over there is already good to go. Very simple. These other 2 I am going to plant up really quick. So let's do that. Okay, I went ahead and I made up my mixture here. We have about a 50-50 mix of the perlite and the sphagnum moss. I took scissors and I just cut the sphagnum that's here into about 1-inch pieces. And what we're going to do is not just shove them in, because we want to make sure that this stays in place. So we want to be very gentle when we do this. We also want to make sure that this point here is buried. So it's got to be deep enough that it's buried. And that looks about right for that one. I'm going to position it in a way that the leaf sort of supports itself there. And I am just going to throw a bit of medium around this one first. We're going to do 2 in the pot because space is always an issue. So we'll do that one. You can see it is already staying there. And the stem is quite far down, so it's going to give a good depth to the plant itself. Here is the other one we're going to do this way. And that one is not going to be able to support itself so easily because it doesn't have an edge. Maybe the 2 leaves will crisscross and support each other. You got to make sure it's deep enough that this node is well under. So there we go. Now the other thing you can do, while I think about it, is with a moist piece of sphagnum, I just moistened a piece off camera, is just shove a little bit of sphagnum in there too. It just keeps it open and keeps it moist. Just like so. So we'll try that with that one. See if that does anything different. We have 3 different sort of tests going on here. There we go, and I'll just finish filling that in. Now we want to give this a very good drink under the tap. Make sure the media is nice and wet. And then we are going to put them in a bag. Make sure if you're doing multiple cuttings, you put the name on the bag. Also make sure you put the date on the pot that you did this. That way you can keep track. Time has a funny way of getting away from us, so what seems like weeks or months can actually be a lot less time than you think. So by having the date on the pot or the bag, you're going to be much more likely to have the correct sort of time frame. Otherwise it'll seem like it's taking forever. So there we go. So I'll put it in the bag just to demonstrate, but I am going to take it back out of the bag and give it a good soaking in the sink there. So I'm going to put it in a bag like that, and I don't know if you can see it there, and then just sort of seal up the top of the bag like so, and that is how it's going to live on the greenhouse shelf for a while until we see some new growth. Now, take it back out of this bag. This one leaf still looks a little big to me, so I think before we go, I'm going to shorten that leaf just that little bit again. We'll do that. There we go. Anyways, there is a couple different methods for Nepenthe cuttings. I don't know which one is going to be more successful, the water method or the potting method. We're going to watch these guys together. I'll do some updates on them. If you want to see the updates, make sure you subscribe to my channel so they are in your feed when I do the update. And until next time, thanks for watching.